The human experience is an intricate journey filled with choices, challenges, and opportunities for growth. Among the many lessons life presents, one of the most crucial is learning to avoid ego-driven decisions. The ego, when unchecked, often leads us down a path of impulsive reactions, unnecessary conflicts, and decisions that do not align with our higher purpose. Recognizing and understanding the nature of the ego is essential in making conscious choices that foster wisdom, peace, and true fulfillment. The ego thrives on validation, control, and superiority. It convinces us that we must always be right, that we must prove our worth through external achievements, and that vulnerability is a weakness rather than a strength. However, when decisions are driven by the ego, they often lead to regret, strained relationships, and missed opportunities for authentic growth. Learning to detach from ego-based impulses allows us to make choices that are rooted in clarity and wisdom rather than pride and fear. One of the first steps in avoiding ego-driven decisions is cultivating self-awareness. This means pausing before reacting, questioning our motivations, and observing whether our choices are influenced by a need for external approval or dominance. Self-awareness creates space for introspection, enabling us to act from a place of inner balance rather than emotional turbulence. It allows us to recognize patterns in our behavior, identify when the ego is taking control, and consciously redirect our actions toward a more constructive and compassionate approach. Another essential aspect is embracing humility. A humble heart acknowledges that growth comes from learning, and learning often arises from mistakes. When we are willing to admit our errors and accept responsibility, we open the door to transformation. The ego resists admitting faults because it equates mistakes with failure. However, in reality, mistakes are invaluable lessons that help refine our character and expand our understanding of life. Instead of viewing errors as setbacks, we should perceive them as stepping stones that lead us toward greater wisdom and maturity. Resisting ego-driven decisions also involves practicing emotional detachment. This does not mean becoming indifferent, but rather learning to respond rather than react. Many decisions made in anger, resentment, or frustration are fueled by the ego's desire for validation or revenge. When we learn to detach emotionally, we gain the ability to see situations with greater clarity and make choices that are aligned with our long-term well-being instead of momentary satisfaction. Meditation, mindfulness, and deep reflection are effective tools for cultivating this sense of inner calm and awareness. Furthermore, surrounding ourselves with individuals who encourage growth and accountability plays a significant role in making wiser decisions. The ego flourishes in environments that promote competition, superficial success, and arrogance. However, when we engage with people who value authenticity, kindness, and introspection, we are more likely to develop a mindset that prioritizes long-term growth over short-term validation. Having mentors or trusted friends who offer honest feedback can help us recognize when our choices are ego-driven and guide us toward a more enlightened path. Patience is another virtue that aids in overcoming the impulsiveness of the ego. Many poor decisions stem from the inability to wait, the urge to act immediately out of frustration, or a need for instant gratification. By cultivating patience, we allow ourselves the time to evaluate the consequences of our actions, ensuring that our choices align with our values and long-term goals. Patience provides the clarity needed to differentiate between what serves our higher self and what merely satisfies the ego in the present moment. Additionally, forgiveness plays a crucial role in overcoming ego-driven tendencies. Holding on to resentment, whether toward others or ourselves, keeps us trapped in a cycle of negativity. The ego thrives on grudges because it fosters a sense of superiority and self-righteousness. However, true growth and wisdom come from the ability to release past grievances and move forward with a heart free from bitterness. Forgiveness is not about condoning mistakes, but about choosing peace over prolonged suffering. To illustrate these ideas in daily life, imagine a common workplace scenario. You work hard on a project, dedicating hours of effort. But when the time comes for recognition, a colleague receives the credit instead. The ego's immediate reaction might be anger, frustration, and a desire to prove your worth, perhaps, by confronting the colleague or complaining to a superior. However, taking a step back and detaching from the ego's need for validation allows a different approach. You might choose to calmly discuss the situation with your colleague, seeking clarity rather than conflict. Perhaps you recognize that true fulfillment comes from knowing your contribution rather than external praise. This shift in perspective prevents unnecessary stress and fosters a healthier work environment. Similarly, consider a personal relationship where a disagreement escalates. The ego pushes us to win arguments, to prove we are right, even at the cost of hurting someone we care about. However, practicing humility means recognizing that being right is not as important as understanding and preserving the connection. Instead of arguing to dominate, one can listen, acknowledge the other person's feelings, and find a resolution that strengthens the bond rather than damages it. Ultimately, avoiding ego-driven decisions is a lifelong practice that requires continuous effort and self-reflection. Each day presents new opportunities to choose humility over pride, patience over impulsivity, and wisdom over superficial validation. The journey toward self-mastery is not about perfection, but about progress. When we commit to learning from our mistakes and making decisions rooted in authenticity and inner wisdom, we pave the way for a life of fulfillment, deeper connections, and meaningful growth.